Hey everyone, thanks for coming out. This is Justin with We Counsel Customer Success. We're super glad to have you with us today. Joe Sanok is here to talk about marketing basics, and we're so honored to have him. He's written for Forbes, Huffington Post, Reader's Digest, just to name a few, and he's got a thriving practice of his own, does consulting, helping loads of providers just like yourself get from where they are to where they want to be, and you can check him out at practiceofthepractice.com. Get on his mailing list. It's awesome. We Counsel is committed to helping providers like you grow your practice and engage patients online. So we'll share some more about the software and how it can help you in your daily practice at the end of the webinar. So if you're not already involved with We Counsel, stick around for that. And you can ask questions during this time. Joe wants to make sure that you're getting the most out of this. So if anything's unclear, you have a questions box in your control panel, probably on the right side of your screen there. And you can type up questions anytime, and I'll field those and get those to Joe as we go. So that said, Joe, go ahead and take it away.
Well, thanks so much. Just want to make sure that screen's coming through. Is it on the We Counsel page right now?
I am seeing it. Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody else want to chime in? Let us know that you're seeing it.
Because I'm going to be doing a bunch of screen sharing today. Thank you so much, Justin. I always love these webinars. So last time that I did the webinar last month, I got a lot of questions about Facebook, online marketing, and ways to rank in Google. So today's webinar is 100% about those techniques and some different ways that I've found that really work in regards to just growing your business, and especially with an online platform. So what we're going to be covering today is I'm going to go into Facebook. I'm going to show you how to run Facebook ads, a few different things that work really well, and talk about some things that I've tried that haven't worked well. We're going to also talk about how to do A/B testing, and if you don't know what that is, it's totally fine. We're going to talk about how to use Google Trends to really optimize what you're writing on your website based on words that are used in your area. And we're also going to talk about quizzes and how to use quizzes as a way to get people onto an email list or to give them really good information about a specialty that you have. And so it's going to be really practical, and if I go too fast, please ask a question. Justin has the ability to interrupt me and jump in and say, hey, Joe, hold on, we've got some questions coming in here. Technology can be scary, but hopefully today it doesn't feel that way because we're going to go at a pace that hopefully you all can get something out of this. And also, if you have specific questions, we can also unmute you and give you the ability to just ask me a question. We can dive a little bit deeper into your specific situation. So right now we have 16 of you, and I know that's going to grow. But don't be intimidated about speaking out. We're all friends here. We're all just trying to do really good work as counselors in our private practices. So with that said, let me first start with Facebook. Facebook is one of the leading platforms. It has billions of users, and it's a source of information. They collect a lot of data on us kind of in exchange for their platform. And so what that means is there's a lot of things that we can do on here to market to our ideal client. And so if you haven't set up ads within it, on the right side here, you'll see this little drop down. And when you do that, you'll see create ads. Now, because I've done ads, I can do manage ads, create groups, new groups. The new groups, that's going to be like a group of people. It's not going to be groups of advertisers. Same with pages and managing pages. Those are pages like Practice of the Practice, Mental Wellness Counseling, all of these pages that I manage that are part of my business and part of just me as a person. And so, for example, you see over here, I have my Practice of the Practice page, I have my Joseph R. Sanok page, and my Mental Wellness Counseling page. So those are the top 3 pages that I manage. As well, there might be groups that I'm a part of. I'm sure a bunch of you are in groups. I have a private Facebook group for people that consult with me. And so you may start a group in your area using Facebook that's around your specialty. I definitely wouldn't encourage you, I would not encourage you to have a group for your clients. That to me would not be ethical, of course. But if you did it around a specialty, so say you help angry teens. So here at Mental Wellness Counseling, angry teens are a group that we work with and that we specialize in. So you may want to have a group that's aimed at parents of teens for your area, or Northern Michigan parents of teens, or resources for parents that have teenagers. Something that's very helpful for your ideal client is going to be
real quick.
Yep.
I'm going to interrupt because I've got somebody saying they can't hear anything, so I want to make sure that it's not a that everyone else is able to hear? It might be an input or output setting on your computer, but can anyone else hear what's going on? Anybody mind chiming in real quick? Okay, so people are able to hear, Ariel.
Okay.
You might need to check your speaker settings. Okay, sorry, Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, and one thing that sometimes helps, I've had that happen before, is to just log off the webinar, come back in, and then do the test the speakers button. And that's a good way to kind of find out what the problem is quickly within GoToWebinar.
Mm-hmm.
So, cool, thanks for interrupting, because yeah, I would hate for everyone to not be able to hear, but hopefully she's able to hear pretty soon. And you guys are recording this, so that's going to be something that she can go back to as well.
Yeah.
So over here we have create ads or manage ads, and I'm going to drill into that to show you a little bit more about that, but then you also have activity log and other things in here. We aren't going to go into those. But specifically we're going to look at creating an ad. And so I'm going to click on create an ad, and then it's going to load. And as it does that, it's going to bring up what is it that I want to get out of my ad. So if I was going to do paid advertising on Facebook, what is it that I want to get out of that? And so for some people, it's that they want to do brand awareness. They just kind of want to get the word out about them. In general, that's sort of like just throwing money up in the air and seeing if it lands, or throwing business cards out of a window. I think that's probably less targeted and harder to track than if you specifically say that you want to get people to have traffic on your website. For most counselors, I would say you're going to want to choose traffic, because you're trying to drive people specifically to your website, and to get people to either read a blog post, maybe it's to read more about you, maybe you have a specific resource, or maybe even an email list that people can opt into. And so we're going to select traffic here. And so once I select what I want to do, then I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to name this campaign. So I'm going to say this is We Counsel Test. But you may want to name it something that kind of reminds you of which group you are focusing on. So for example, if you were focusing on parents of teenagers, then that might be something that you would want to name this ad campaign. If you're going to be focusing on couples that just got married, name it something like that, so it's easier for you in the future to come back and know which ad group you're working on. So we're going to do continue, and then the ad set name is going to come up. Now this is a section where we're going to determine what kind of traffic we want to have. Where do we want them to go? Do we want them to go to a website or to a specific app? So we're going to want it to go to a website. I'm going to scroll down a little bit here, and we're going to look at the audience. So this audience is who is going to see your ad. And so if you want to create a new audience, then you could use that. Or I have saved audiences. I'm not going to use the saved audiences. I'm going to show you from scratch how to do it. But for example, I have people that are married across the entire United States that make this specific amount of money, and their relationship status is married, 39 million people. So I had a quiz that I did that it was how close are you to having an affair? And I'll talk about how I used that quiz to get people onto my email list about kind of marriage tips, and then hopefully to come in for an intensive weekend. And then I have the maybe divorcing audience, can afford counseling audience, people that are connected with chiropractors and massage, business folk, high income parents, K through college. So then you can create these audiences that are highly specialized that you can focus your ads on. Now, the more specialized it is, often the more expensive it is, because when you send something out to 39 million people across the United States and you set your specific budget of what you're going to spend, that's going to be a very low cost thing. Whereas if you say, I want to focus in on people with this target demographic and all these different factors, the more factors you add, the more expensive it gets. So we're going to create a new audience. And we're not going to, it's asking me right now, do I want to do an offer or a discount or promotion? You have that option to do it, but we're not going to do that. So say I wanted to do everyone in, so I live in Traverse City, Michigan, but let's see, I have a bunch of people, like I just talked to someone that's in the San Diego area. So let's do San Diego, California. All right. Now what I can do is I can determine kind of what area I want it to go into. And so I can move this pin around if I want. I can choose how far. So for example, this is going down into Mexico, into Tijuana. And so I may not be licensed in Tijuana or down in Mexico. I might only be licensed in San Diego. And so I may want to add exclude Mexico here. So I could go exclude, and then if I do Mexico, and then it looks like I can't do like all of the country, but maybe I want to do, I can start typing in, so Tijuana. I may exclude that because I'm not licensed down there. And so then it may be that area. So then that goes into a little bit of Southern California. So that's where I would want to really determine, this was a kind of bad example because of the border states. That happens in Michigan a lot too with Canada, where you don't want it to go over, overseas. And so then you're going to do your age demographic here. So let's say I was focusing on couples, and I wanted to focus on maybe I do premarital or post-marriage counseling, and so I focus on maybe ages 25 to, let's say, 50. And then you can determine if you want to do all men, all women, kind of both genders you can decide, specific languages. And then here's where you can start to target specific groups. Now, you don't want to target too much, but you can look at all sorts of different types of things here. So if I go to suggestions, so it's going to put a lot around counselors, and that's not specifically what I'm looking for. So then maybe I'm going to go to browse, and then we look at demographics. And let's look at life events. And so maybe I want to focus on an anniversary, like your anniversary is coming up, time to like have a relationship checkup. Or we might have newlywed within a year. So say I wanted to focus just on newlyweds. And maybe I might just leave it at that. I can also go in and I can do it by income. I can do a number of different factors. But for right now, let's just do newlyweds. You could do connection types, like if they like certain pages, if they are connected in different ways. But I'm going to just save this audience, and we're going to name this We Counsel Test Newly Married. All right, so I'm going to save that. Now, so now that I've saved that, it's going to ask me about placements of my ad. And typically doing automatic placements is best because they can just kind of pick the spots where they're going to find your audience the most. And then you set your daily budget. You definitely want to be careful on this. And when you first start out, I would start by doing a start and end date. Because if you run it continuously starting today, you might forget. And then you just keep having money go out of your account. So say I want to do it for a month and I do a $20 a day budget. It says I'd spend $620. We're going to automatically optimize for link clicks. So I want people to click. I want to pay when people click, not just when people specifically like see it. And so then we're going to scroll down and we're going to continue. So next it's going to ask you, do you want to have multiple images? Do you want single images, single video, a slideshow? What's working really well right now is really kind of casual videos that are short and under a minute. And so pulling out your phone and talking about one big thing that people could learn. So say I'm focusing on newly married couples. I might pull up my phone and say, hi, this is Joe Sanok from Mental Wellness Counseling, and I want to give you one tip around budgeting that I see couples really struggle over, especially in their first year. One thing that I would say is keep track of your budget, just living how you are in that first month. See what it's like if you were to live how you each want to live, and then can you afford that? And then month 2, talk about where you need to rein it in a little bit. For another 3 tips about your first year of marriage, head on over to mentalwellnesscounseling.com/marriage tips or newlywed or something like that. So you do a short video like that. That's a great way. That's kind of a more advanced thing. But if you're looking to just give this a whirl, what you're going to do is you can do a single image. So you're going to say that it's your counseling page that's doing it. Typically, you want to do that instead of your own personal page because it's your business you're promoting. You have a single image, and then you can browse the library. And they have tons and tons of stock images. So I'm going to click here on stock images. Takes a little bit when you've got a webinar and this going all at once, but I'm sure it will load up pretty quick there. So then that's powered by Shutterstock. So they have some really high quality images. So newlywed. Let's just see what they have. And again, this will go faster for you when you're not on a live webinar. And so maybe you just pick. We'll just pick. I don't know. This one looks fun. So I select that, and you can select up to 6 different images that it'll randomly do, and then you can see which ones work and which ones don't. So maybe I'll pick 2 of them. Maybe not. All right, I'm just going to hit done in the interest of time and getting through more things. All right, so now we've got our pictures. And then down here, it's going to show you what your advertisement looks like. And so if you're not sure about something, all you got to do is enter in something there. So if I'm like website URL, that's where I want them to go. So maybe it's 8. We're going to go. All right, so that right now is not a real website. I haven't set up anything for that. But then right away, you're going to see that it's going to pop in there. And then right here, we have our headline. So right now, it says page not found. So why don't I just do our main page just so you can see what it imports for a real page. So it's going to naturally pull in whatever that's called on that main page where it says home mental wellness. But you can change that. So we're going to change the.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
And Caroline says she's wondering if this, if you're creating this to drive traffic to a page or to a website.
Yeah. So I would recommend a specific page that is catered to your ad. And so if I had mentalwellnesscounseling.com/newlywed, it might be that I have 3 tips about specific newlywed strategies. Or it might be directly to my About page, about me, about how I do online counseling, or about how I can help that person. And so you'd want to test, and that's a great question because that goes into this idea of A/B testing, of running 2 things at once. So if your budget is $20 a day, I'd rather see you do 2 different ads for $10 a day and see which one gets more traffic and gets more clients. So you might do one that goes to a /newlywed, and then you might do one that goes to /Joe, and you see which one of those ends up getting you more clients. So we do A/B testing. And so here we might then kind of with each of these, and I'm not going to take too much of our time actually filling it in, but you want to have it really feel authentic to Facebook. I actually had a friend who posted a video. I clicked on it, and afterward I realized it was sponsored because it was this great video just of an event that they had done, and it felt really authentic to the Facebook culture. And so think about the kind of things that you click on, and then from there, that's how you want to create your ad. So you want it to feel like it's part of the Facebook culture and not just this big ad. And so it should have some sense of helpfulness, a sense of that there's some content behind it, and a sense of it's really connected to your ideal client. So we'll then go down here, determine our call to action. Most of the time it's learn now or book now are the 2. And then the link description, that's going to be down here, kind of what we're going to see in regards to what's underneath here. So if you don't know what something is, you can just go like this and see it'll change over on the right side, and then you know what part it's filling in. So when in doubt, just randomly type something in. And then if you want the display link to just be like mentalwellnesscounseling.com instead of like the full URL, you can have that. And then down here, what's going to happen is it's going to say some tips, either about things that you might get rejected for, because they do reject some ads. So words like stressed, anxious, angry, sometimes get rejected, sometimes they don't. And the best way to try that out is to kind of give it a whirl, do your best, and then they'll tell you if you don't meet the Facebook guidelines. But it says you may reach fewer people because there's too much text in the ad image. They prefer ads with little or no image. And so I think they're mistaken because usually what they're talking about is someone that has a bunch of text over top of the image, but because I use their stock image, it's probably not going to get rejected. So then if I was going to place the order, I would just click Place Order. Now, before we move on to kind of other things, I want to hear other questions specifically around Facebook ads. And I'd like to talk a little bit then about using Facebook video. But what questions do you guys have? And we can unmute you. We can kind of talk about your situation, how you would use Facebook advertising. And if we don't have any questions coming in, Justin, I'll just move on. I can always go back to it if people have questions they're pondering. So with videos, go ahead. Yeah.
Caroline asks, can you cancel a campaign once it starts?
Absolutely. Yep. You can go in there. And so let's actually go back to my Ads Manager page. And I'm going to go here. So this is where you can see all of your campaigns, your ad sets, and your ads. And so all you have to do, so this one right here is one that I'm driving traffic. I think it's for my podcast, or no, I think it's for a webinar series I'm doing called Practice Essentials. So it's driving people to practiceofthepractice.com/practice essentials. And I'm doing all these different interviews with people around different essential components of private practice. And so the reach has been 1,900 people, but 9 people have clicked on it. So I've paid just about $2.50 per click, so I spent $23. Now say I decided that I didn't want to do that. All I have to do is click this blue button to turn it off or to turn it back on. So it just goes from active to inactive. And so this one also, I was doing some A/B testing. This was recently completed and wasn't working. Obviously, I didn't spend any money, and it didn't, I guess it just didn't work right. So you do some of these tests, and it tells you how much you spent on it. And so then, like my affair quiz, which is right down here, I did. Sorry, there's a whole bunch of other ones down here. I'll try some out and just see within like a day if anyone clicks on it. And if I get a bunch of clicks, great. And if not, then I'm like, that doesn't really resonate with people. But I did one on podcasting a while back, and you set your daily budget, you decide if you get enough people, and then you turn it off. So let me.
We've got some other ones coming in.
Cool.
Let's see. So one is, would you split test with the same population or pick a different group?
Yeah, so in general with split testing, what you want to do is you want to just change one variable between them. And so you may have 2 different populations but the same ad. You may have the same population but 2 different ads. You may have the same population, the same ad, and you just change some of the pictures. You may do video on one and images on the other. It's really up to you, but I would say you don't want to change 10 different things because then you don't know exactly what was the thing that worked and helped you really get more traffic.
Yeah, cool. So one person, let's see, April is asking, I'm targeting women who are working, and so this is women in the business place with weight issues, coughing. So how do you target people when you don't yet have a good audience to retarget?
Yeah, so I would start with women in your area, and Facebook will go. Let me go back to kind of some of the ads. They kind of show how many people you're likely to reach based on the ads, and so it might take me a bit to get in there, so I won't go all the way in. But as you're building your audience, as you add more and more specifics, what it does is it'll say you're narrowing the audience too much or you're too broad. And so I would say for her, she wants to start with women. And then she may want to look at different places in town that have a similar population. So it could be people that like Weight Watchers, or it could be people that like the Beachbody diet and they're trying to lose weight, or it could be that there's different factors that she knows her audience better than maybe I would, to be able to say here's the kinds of things they like. But even just targeting women in a certain age demographic, using language around your ideal client, that's going to weed people out just by doing that without even finding more factors to have within that audience makeup.
Yeah. And in general, what would you say the rate of return on investing in ads is? Like how many clicks to a new client? That probably depends on how well you target. But
I think it depends on targeting, and I think it also depends on your market. And so, just like with Psychology Today, if you're on Psychology Today in New York City, there's 30+ pages of therapists you're competing with. Whereas here in Traverse City, yeah, we have a lot of therapists, but We don't have as many that are doing Facebook advertising. So your cost is going to be higher in more competitive markets. It's just kind of a supply and demand thing. But what you want to personally do with anything you invest in is look at your own ROI. And so if you put $500 into a Facebook ad campaign, or $100, or whatever you're comfortable with your budget, how many clients do you get out of that? So for example, I ran excuse me, a traditional advertising in a local magazine. And it was $500, and I got one client out of it. And at the beginning, I was like, man, I got one client out of this. This is terrible. But that client paid $120, and they came to probably more than 20 sessions that year. And so when I look at my return on investment, I made significantly more than what I invested in that advertising campaign. So really watching how much you spend, and then you want to ask people, how did they hear about you? Because they may not remember that it was Facebook that they originally clicked on. And so on my intake paperwork, I have, how did you hear about mental wellness counseling? And that's where it's often hard to track, because people, especially with counselors, they'll hear about you, and then they'll go to your website, and then they might click on a Facebook ad. But it is part of that building kind of the infrastructure before someone makes that buying decision. In general, I think that when I see people put at least $500 into a Facebook ad, they almost always will get 1 or 2 clients out of that. But that can be very unique to each specific market and how well they target people as well.
Great. So we do need to jump on over to Google, but let's wrap up with, maybe you could touch on real quick creating a quiz, and then also Megan's wondering about if Facebook's picking the audiences that Facebook picks, or doing it yourself, which is more beneficial.
Yeah, so the audience, the suggestions that they give are based on my own ads that I've done. And so that, I mean, for example, they just brought up all the suggestions of counselors because many of my ads in the past have been aimed at therapists to help them grow their practices. And so over time, they may start to notice that you're always targeting, women, or you're always targeting men, or you're always targeting people in a certain demographic. So I think it's really just a matter of clicking on it and then looking. Until you click that place the order, you're not going to screw much up. And so I think a lot of times people with technology, they fear that they're going to break it, they're going to screw something up. And if you legitimately do something where you place an ad and you're like, oh, I thought I was just going to the next screen, you can contact Facebook, you can turn off that ad, and the few minutes of time there, you're not going to have thousands of people that clicked and cost you money. All right, so let me show you a little bit about quizzes, excuse me, and then we'll talk about Google and how to use Google Trends. Practiceofthepractice.com/quiz is the link that will redirect you to interact and give you a free membership for this quiz platform. I have a partnership with them. They're awesome. They consult with me on things that counselors need. They're just good people, just like We Counsel is. And so when you get into here, what you'll see once you log into your account is you'll see create a new quiz. Now quizzes, if you're not familiar, you often see on Facebook those kind of silly quizzes that are like based on your personality type, what city should you live in the United States? Or what kind of parent are you? And so there's all sorts of quizzes that actually they have built in here, or you can create your own. So I want to first quickly show you just some of the basic kind of quizzes. And so if I was to scroll down here and look at ones that might have to do with you, maybe it would be one of these family ones. So like I ran this What's Your Child's Love Language quiz. We used that template recently, and we were able to get one of our therapists some clients out of that and some leads to talk to. So that might be one that you want to do, and you can change each of these. There's like health and wellness ones in here, and a lot of these are going to be your kind of regular old quizzes that aren't appropriate to you, but maybe this how happy are you? And so let's preview this quiz. So on page 1, it's going to say how happy are you, take this quiz, and then it takes you through just 10 questions throughout the quiz. And so if you wanted to use this quiz, you just use this quiz, and then you get to go through each of the questions. So you can change it, and so it says, I'm clear on what I'm doing with my life. Agree, disagree, you can add answers or images. You can go through any of these different things. I am motivated to work. Agree, disagree. And then you can set the answer scores. So let me actually go back to the main menu here. So for example, I took Dr. John and Julie Gottman's, it's sort of like a slippery slope of how close you are to having an affair. And I took that and I created a Are You Going to Have an Affair quiz. And so it starts with talking about how this is based on their cascade towards betrayal. You do get started, and then as you take the quiz, at the end, it kind of walks you through these, I think it's 18 questions or so, and then it tells you, actually I'll just click through. So we'll just do a bunch of trues because I know that that's going to probably give us a you can set each one to have more and more of a weight. So within this specific platform in this quiz, like I'm planning to have an affair soon, then that goes to this page that I created within here. And it's all within. It gives them some clear tips, and then if they want to get help now, they can go to the 2-day couples intensive landing page for mental wellness counseling, and then that walks them through how they sign up for it and the cost for it. And so quizzes are a great way to engage people, and they're also a great way to, if you have an email list, get people onto an email list and then give them information that has to do with your ideal client. There's a lot more we can go into, but I want to make sure we have time to talk about Google. I did want to have quite a bit on Facebook because that's probably the most common question that I get is how to use Facebook ads. But quizzes are a great way to connect people with people and to do it in a way that's different than just your typical, like, click on here to go to my website. What questions do you all have about quizzes and about how you might use that as a way to get some new clients into your practice?
So again, how can people get, you said there was a trial of that or discount on,
oh, yeah.
Use Interact?
Yep, it's practiceofthepractice.com/quiz. Cool. Well, I'm going to show you, as maybe some questions about quizzes come in, a little bit about Google Trends and how you can use that as a really quick way to understand how to rank in Google. And then I want to leave a few minutes for questions because I know we're going to probably have some extra questions. And then I'd love for Justin, I know you had some questions to ask me and for us to kind of dialogue about at the end there. So when you go to trends.google.com, this is a really quick way to see how things are trending in your area, and so or worldwide. So let's say we want to know, does counseling or therapy get Googled more? So we can say in the past 12 months, but then I may change kind of where. So it may be, let's say Michigan. So in Michigan, so I do online counseling in Michigan over the past 12 months. What should I use in my copy in regards to search terms? It looks like almost 3 to 4 times more people use that term therapy in Michigan more than the words counseling. And so if I was looking at naming my practice, maybe instead of doing mental wellness counseling, I might want to do mental wellness therapy. Or even though we're already named mental wellness counseling, I might want to use that term therapy more frequently within the copy on our website, our blog posts, and things like that. So this is a really quick way to get some keyword ideas. And then also, why is this not moving down? You can also add comparisons in addition to that. So maybe I type in like social, maybe I want to do, or actually maybe I want to do like therapist. So I can add that in.
And Joe, is Google Trends free to access, to use
totally
this?
free. You don't even have to log in. The keyword planner is more advanced, and I'm not going to show them that today because Google AdWords gets pretty complex pretty quickly. This is definitely the quickest way to be able to figure out which search terms you should kind of focus on. So right away, any of them could go to trends.google.com, totally free. You can jump on here and see all of these over time. So then there's a number of other features that I'm not sure, it's not quite letting me scroll down. So there's different trending topics, which this is a great inspiration for if you are looking for blog post ideas. And so if you can take some of these things and talk about it from a mental health standpoint, you can talk about, like, for example, Primetime Emmy Awards, Westworld, like if that's something that you want to talk about from a psychological standpoint, those sorts of things, when they're trending, help you rank higher in Google and attract more attention to. Now, you want to be careful because you're a therapist. You don't want to be just writing about kind of pop culture all the time, and especially when it comes to your website, your politics, all of that, you might want to be really careful. But doing a little bit of what's called trend jacking can really be helpful. For example, a couple years ago, after the National Cherry Festival, there was a lady who took a bunch of pictures of trash floating in the water after a really large air show. And so I wrote a blog post that was called The Psychology of Trash, Pure Michigan, because we have this Pure Michigan campaign that they market all over the place. And it was all about the psychology of why people threw trash in the water, and through like kind of the idea of a herd mentality. And Disney discovered that people only walk about 30 steps before they'll throw a piece of trash on the ground. So I was able to talk about the psychology of that, and then I pitched that to local radio, and they got me on right away. So it's a great way, if things are trending, to spin it from a psychological standpoint to get free media that normally you wouldn't be able to get. Well, Justin, I want to make sure we have time for people to ask questions about any of these different things where they got stuck, but I also know that you've got some questions for me as well for the last 10 minutes of our webinar, and I want to be respectful of your time and all the counselors that are tuning in. So that's the end of the formal part of the webinar. If you have questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat box, and Justin's going to ask me a couple questions and talk a little bit about WeCounsel, and then from there we can also do a little bit of Q&A if we have time as well.
Yeah, keep the questions coming, everybody. I appreciate your participation and hope you're getting a lot out of this. We'll continue with that, talking more about telehealth in general and the WeCounsel platform, how that fits into that. So for those of you who maybe don't use WeCounsel yet, just so you know, we are a fully HIPAA compliant online office. We have a simple video conferencing and billing plan, and then we have all-in-one plans that host have a host of client engagement solutions. So from a private practice to a large organization, we've got it covered. And Joe, I'm curious, in your experience, how does offering services via telehealth fit into a growing behavioral health practice?
Yes, we have a group practice here, mental wellness counseling. We have 6 clinicians. At one point we were up to 11, but then we kind of decided to rein it in a little bit. It's been great because we will often have people that come here for the summer and maybe get counseling, and then they go to Florida for a little bit in the winter. That's a very popular place for people, and for us to be able to do online counseling with them, that's an effective way to stay connected. Also, in northern Michigan, we have crazy winters, and so if there's a snow day and somebody's stuck at home with their kids, where their kids were going to be in school and they can't because of therapy, or they can't because of the snow, and then they still want to do their therapy, it's a great option when someone's feeling under the weather, when someone's feeling sick, or when someone's home with kids. So even for practices that are primarily like a brick and mortar practice, which is what we are, I've found to do online counseling to be a way that we can stay connected with our clients if things come up, but then also to have those ongoing relationships if they're out of the state for a bit.
Yeah, great. Yeah, and so here at WeCounsel, we offer a completely HIPAA compliant platform with video conferencing, email, instant chat, scheduling, billing, and e-signing, lots of other awesome features. And I'm wondering, like, how can providers benefit from leveraging the telehealth modalities in their service offerings?
Yeah, I think one thing for me, at least what I've experienced just through using WeCounsel, is for us millennials in particular, they want e-scheduling. They want to be able to have things run smoothly. They want it to be clean. They have expectations of like a well-run business. And so when counselors just say, well, here's a Skype ID, or let's use FaceTime or something like that, or don't even have an option. Like I was talking to a counselor recently that said, well, I'm just cash and check. I don't even take credit card. And I'm just thinking, wow, what message does that send in regards to how you view technology, and how would someone that has been raised around technology feel like you are in regards to just kind of basic competency and understanding the world that they're coming from? And so I think that it symbolizes a lot to have access to good-looking technology, because there's a lot of bad-looking technology out there, and to also be able to offer a variety of services that can help you expand your business.
Yeah, and I see we've got a few questions coming in. I want to get to a couple of those. Real quick, could you tell us how, for you, how's your lifestyle, your in practice changed from offering telehealth?
Yeah, I think that for me, being able to work from anywhere, it's great. Like even just yesterday, I did all of my consulting and all of my counseling from home, and so to be able to have
Yeah.
that flexibility and not have a drive time, we're lucky in Traverse City that our commute isn't that bad. But you know, the summer traffic, it's a tourist town. To not have to find a parking spot and come down here, like that alone probably saves me an hour if I am able to work from home one of those days each way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate that input. And I also, let's see, real quick, I see that we've got some questions about Google, and so maybe you could touch
Yep.
on real quick, uh, where would you start if you wanted to advertise in Google? Where are they going to go? What's the
Yep.
beginning?
So I would actually, if you have a Gmail account, you already have access to Google, to their whole platform. You just have to kind of add your business information in there. So you're going to go to AdWords.com, and then they actually have a free consultant that will meet with you to create your first ads. They'll walk you through it. They're just as good as any consultant you're going to pay for, if not better. And so I would say just go through that setup process. And if you know when they say, "Do you want to meet with one of our consultants?" I mean, their goal is to sell you on Google Ads, but you can always set the limit. So I always just say, I just want to have $100 worth of ads. So I would say AdWords if they want to do full-on ads. If they want to optimize their website through blogging, through Google Trends, through those sorts, kind of that bootstrapping side, I'd say signing up for my free email course about blogging would be the best thing. And that's just practiceofthepractice.com/the number 5, so 5-day blog. And then they're going to get an email 5 days in a row just of kind of the basics to rank higher in Google. Because if your website's not optimized for Google, you kind of want to start there before you start sending a whole bunch of paid traffic there. You want it to be at the best that you can have it for your stage of practice.
Great, and I'm gonna send that URL out to everybody. 5-day blog. Great, and then let's see here. So let's take one more before we wrap up. How can people reach out to you personally, Joe?
Sure. My email is Joe, Joe, at practiceofthepractice.com. I respond to all the emails that come in. I just got to inbox 0 right before this, so I imagine by the end of this I won't be at inbox 0 again. But and I have my assistant Emily who kind of helps prioritize my emails for me, so I'll get to them quicker. So there's that. There's also the podcast. So if you are on iTunes or listen to your favorite podcasting platform, we're the #1 podcast for counselors with over 50,000 downloads a month. Have a really fun community that's developing, and I host conferences kind of all over the country throughout the year.
Awesome. Great, everybody. Well, to wrap things up here, thank you all so much for coming. Just so you know a little more about WeCounsel, we offer a totally free 30-day trial where you can fully utilize the entire platform with no commitment, cancel anytime. You'll have full access to our tech support, training, resources, and we'll make sure you're set up for success. So we would love to give you more information on that. We'll send you an email after this with an opportunity for a demo. Check it out, see what we're all about. And you can check out a free trial at wecounsel.com/pricing. So that wraps things up today. Everybody check out practiceofthepractice.com and check out wecounsel.com. Between the two of us, we've got some great resources and would love to help you get going in telehealth. You can call WeCounsel and talk to a real person anytime, 888-958-2885. So you all have a great rest of your day. And thanks so much for coming.
Thank you. Have a good one.